need someone to talk to and you don't know what to do, call us 214-4400 when you're feeling all alone and they turn their back on you. Call us 214-4400. Call us 214-4400. Call us 214-4400. Call us.
You're listening to the Kind Counseling Podcast. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Now back to the show. Welcome to the Kind Counseling Podcast. It's your host, Dania Roberts, and we're here for another exciting episode. And before we jump into our guest, let me introduce my co-host, Brother Al. How you doing, sir?
Cold weather looks like it's finally behind us out here in Virginia.
All right, man. That's good. That's good. So we got a hot one tonight, man. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready to go. Let's roll.
All right. So tonight we got a special guest who is not a stranger. He's been here before, a friend of the family, and he is here to talk about the just the recent developments of the Trump administration, as well as the Haitian immigration problem that has encountered. So let me introduce Dr. Pierre Artie. How are you doing today, sir?
I am well, thank you. I am well, and I consider it an honor to be here tonight with you guys. It's an honor, and I thank you for this opportunity to just kind of spread a little bit of truth to what's going on in the Haitian community. So I appreciate the opportunity. So thank you very much, and it's good to see you two brothers. Absolutely a pleasure.
So Pierre, tell us a little bit about your background before we get into that. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, currently, as far as occupation, I'm the Chief Psychiatric Officer for Housing Works. I've been there for the past 10 years. I provide supervision and direct clinical care. Before that, I was doing psychiatric director over at St. Vincent Services over in Brooklyn, New York, which is a big foster care agency. And before that, I did psychiatric director work over at Kings County Hospital. So I've basically been working in Brooklyn for throughout my life. I did my medical residency in Brooklyn at SUNY Downstate, which is my medical alma mater. And then I did my residencies over at Kings County, SUNY Downstate, and the Brooklyn VA. So here I am, still in Brooklyn and enjoying it. I won't be here forever. But right now, this is where I'm making my living. This is my bread and butter right here in Brooklyn.
So we got a true to life Brooklyn native right here. All right.
Absolutely.
So Pierre, so tell us a little bit about because I saw your, like we discussed, I saw your speech on the steps of City Hall. I believe you had posted it on Facebook, and I wanted to hear more about it. So could you tell us a little bit about some of the work that you're doing with the Haitian immigrants and the organization? I'm not sure exactly how you're affiliated, but if you could just tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Sure. I'm not direct. Well, just to say that was an invitation that I received, that Housing Works received from one of the legislatures over there at in City Hall, who wanted to essentially gather folks from the Haitian community to come and to discuss what's going on pertaining to the executive orders that have come down since this president has come into power. And one of the executive orders had to do with the, I wouldn't say rescinding, but the decreasing of the time that specifically Haitians who were under or who are under the temporary TPS, temporary protective status, which is a legal status that is made I believe ever since we've had the Biden administration, and it's not just limited for Haitians, but people who are under duress or people who've come from countries where there is oppression, where there may be natural disasters, where there may be some concern pertaining to their life, were able to come to the United States legally and just earn some money to stay in a safe place and to essentially find employment and to make a living. The TPS is not a natural course or direction towards permanent status in the United States, but it does provide the individuals participating in it some kind of reprieve and an opportunity, as I mentioned, to find some financial security and some, I guess, physical security, and to make a way for their family. People who've been involved in TPS, they normally send money home, and they behave. We're talking about close to 500,000 Haitians who
Yeah.
will be affected by this, and so the time limit and was I believe it was for December of 2025, and the
Yeah.
Trump administration has reduced that to
Okay.
August of this year,
Okay.
and so
Well, it
people
was
now have.
September 2026, and they've moved it to August 2025.
There you go, August 2025. So imagine people who've, they have roots here in the United States. They've have employment, they have family here, and they would, I believe, would have planned to reapply. And in the past, based on the reapplication, they've been given continuous temporary status to stay. Now all of that is gone, and so although it starts with the Haitians, but mind you, TPS is for several countries. I think around at least 17 or more, which can include even countries such as Ukraine. So imagine it starts with the Haitians, but it will not be limited to Haitians because the administration is currently very aggressive having to do with their treatment of immigrants.
Well, well, Pierre, let me ask you. Maybe you could, as to the best of your ability. I mean, I've always heard like over the years, like issues with America and Haitians migrating to the country, right?
Hmm.
For decades, right? So could you tell us a little bit like about the history of that, just in terms of like what kind of issues have been like what kind of issues has there been in the past between the two countries, just in terms of the migration process?
Um, for as long as I've been, for as long as I've been aware of it, Haitians, like others, and it's not limited to Haitians, have been, and it's not just limited to Caribbean countries, mind you, other countries too. But you don't hear about, other countries such as, as I mentioned, Ukraine or people from Eastern Europe coming into the country legally or illegally. But specifically for Haiti, due to our unfortunate political unrest, due to the specific issues having to do with Haiti. Um, when I was a kid, we had a dictator by the name of Duvalier, Papa Duvalier. I mean, Papa Doc, and then eventually was his son. But Haiti has been under dictatorship, with of course, which compromises people's rights, oppression going on, opportunities to make a living have not been uh, accessible to a lot of folks. So people have been, as most people do when they are under oppression, such as people in South American countries, Central American countries, have been leaving their country to come to the United States to find such opportunities. I will say, and people from Cuba have been doing it, but I will say that for Haitians, clearly we're black folks.
Right.
Honestly, there is racism. Clearly, some of the I would say there is there is racism in terms of nuances with color. Some of the darkest skin, you could say, Haitians coming up, and people have issues, unfortunately, with that. White Americans, other folks, and then with Haiti, people have all kinds of
Right.
stigmatizing myths pertaining to Haitians, which this president, along with his vice president, just kind of blew up pertaining to myths about, you know, Haitians eating cats and dogs, Haitians are
Right.
somewhat cannibalistic,
Right.
Haitians are involved in all kinds of ritualistic voodoo things that evangelicals in this country have all kinds of issues with, which maybe, however Haitians express their cultural experiences, but there are a lot of stigmatizing myths having to do with Haitians, and I think it's just kind of may or may not be built into the society, but it is expressed, and so I do believe that Haitians have become almost like uh, uh just a kicking ball, or just an object of undesire, and maybe the very epitome of xenophobia. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So, and Alan, I'm gonna let you jump in after this. So when did you decide to get involved with this, and like, what was the impetus for like you to, what made you decide to say like, you know what, I gotta stand up, I gotta say something? Have you been involved with this 20 years or just started or?
Oh no, I mean, since for a long time. I remembered when I was a resident doing psychiatric residency over at Kings County Hospital, and there was an issue going on with, again, with the Haitian community, and the Haitians were, at least some Haitian groups were walking across the Brooklyn Bridge to make a stand.
Right.
I forget what the issue was. And I remembered my co-attending allowed me to leave for just a little while, just to go and to partake in that protest. I think because of the memory of my mom personally and my family, and I would say my ancestors, it behooves me, as the Lord has given me a platform and a voice and position to say something, to rise up against injustice, and unfairness. And as I've mentioned to many individuals, as it is in the book of in the book of Esther, just because it's not happening to you now doesn't mean it won't. And so, if you stand up with a group now,
Mhm.
when it comes your turn, that group will also stand up with you. A couple of years ago, when this current president was president before, he made a lot of negative remarks having to do with the Asian community, and which led to, in my opinion, direct assault upon Asian folks here in New York. Uh, Older Asian women, and it didn't matter if they were from China, the Philippines, Japan, Vietnam. They were just being assaulted, unfortunately, seriously. And a matter of fact, a friend of mine was assaulted just walking down the street. Someone just arbitrarily went and punched her. And I stood with the Asian community, and I was happy that when I, along with other individuals from Housing Works, last year protested across from the Trump Tower, I saw signs from Asian folks who said Asians standing with Haitians. And so it kind of spoke to me of the need for us all to stand together, because although we may be the flavor du jour, but eventually it will happen to other folks, because everyone is being affected by the decisions of this administration. Everyone will be. And
Mhm.
if you think just because you're in one group, you will not be affected, you are you are being seduced and
Right.
tricked, unfortunately. So when did I, to answer your question, I think there's always been a desire in me to protect people, not just Haitians. Um, and to stand up for justice. It just so happens that I happen to be Haitian, and this is the issue at hand. But if it's anything having to do with injustice and the rights of folks to just kind of stand up and be themselves, I will, stand with them. Oppression is something that I really, really uh, do not like, and if I can do anything about it, I'm there.
I want to jump in.
Yeah, I get for the TPS stuff, is there a long-term plan? Because I know looking at reading about it, it says that this is supposed to be a 6, 12, or 18 month
Mhm.
temporary placement, right? So is there a long-term plan once those 6 months, 12 months, 18 months are passed, or is this being used as a long-term plan? I guess is my question. Because it says, I mean, I was just reading through it, and I'm not the expert on this, but it says that this is supposed to be just a temporary asylum in order for you to work towards permanent citizenship or green card or of that nature. So is there anything put in place within the community to try to streamline that process?
I do not think so. I'm not an expert in it, but I do not think so. It is not the same as asylum. Asylum is more of a permanent type of status. As you said, this is more temporary, but it does allow some form of financial stability, and people have the opportunity to renew it whenever it's over, or to try to find ways of obtaining green cards. At least there they can, in some measure of peace, kind of work with lawyers to see what they can do to make this, to change their status, or to make it into, or to find some avenue to gain some permanency. It allows that. But it's not from my understanding, it's not a venue towards direct, it's not a direct venue towards permanency in the United States. It is not, but it does allow you to have an opportunity to communicate with others who may be able to help you. So, and I think long-term plans, um, it would have to be, I guess you'd have to interview those who are under that umbrella to see what would be their long-term plans. Um, yeah, to see what they'd like to do. I mean, there's a guy who parks my car when I go to work. He works in the parking lot, and he's on the TPS. He also happens to be Haitian, and I'm asking him, what are his plans? What is he going to do? Right now, he's unclear. People are looking into possibly um, going to Canada, possibly, I don't know, going undercover, or trying to find another country that's a little bit more receptive to them. Um, I hope that answers the question, but again, I'm not an expert in it. I just know what's going on right now and how it's
Yeah.
affecting folks right now.
Yeah, because I mean, I just did a brief reading on it. I guess my thought process is this was a program put in place since 2010.
Hmm.
And we're now going into 2025. That's 15 years, and Haiti is one of the countries that have had this in place possibly the longest compared to other countries. I just wonder if at this point, if there was other things that could have been possibly done to not have to rely on them extending the program at all.
I'm sure there could have been, but in those 15 years, Haiti has unfortunately has not improved, much to my regret. Since the assassination of our last president, I think that was in 2021, things have just gone downhill. I was in Haiti last year in Port-au-Prince, where it's kind of like the heart of the dragon right now. And as I'm sure you've probably heard and read about, the gang situation is not one that allows people just to come back and feel that there's a sense of safety. So the option to return is not a good option. That is sure what people have done since they've been here for the last 10, 15 years. You would have to ask the ones who've been here that long, but like the individuals that I've met, they've kind of been here recently. The ones who've been here longer, I would assume that maybe they have found a way of getting some form of permanency, or have moved on. Maybe they've gone to other countries. Um, but this is what's been going on for those individuals. Yeah.
So now you said earlier that you thought it was a strong possibility that there's a racist attitude towards Haitian.
Uh,
So
no, not possibility. There is.
I'm just leaving some room. Right? But I think recently there was some talk about allowing people from South Africa to come to America because of the conflict over there. But then also, I don't know if this was a negotiating tool, but um, I saw President Trump also saying that he was going to send back 250,000 Ukrainian refugees. Like I said, I don't know if it was a negotiated ploy or not, but I'm just wondering, like, what are your thoughts on that? Just in terms of, yeah.
Well, the first thing in terms of South Africa, it was principally white South Afrikaners who, according to President Trump, allegedly are being oppressed because of some issues pertaining to land redistribution, and which dates back to the days of apartheid, where it was unfair pertaining to how the blacks were being treated, and whatever was going on to their land, and how the land was distributed between the white South Afrikaners and the non-white South Afrikaners. So his allegation was that these white South Afrikaners were being oppressed, were not being treated fairly, and so he's opening up the doors to the United States. And most recently, my understanding is that he said If they come, he will expedite their citizenship, their pathway towards citizenship, which I find to, it flies in the face of hypocrisy, because here you have people who are, who are truly, if they return to their country, there is true oppression. There's possibility, strong possibility of death, of them dying, of them being assaulted.
Be the Haitian.
Yeah, the Haitians.
Okay.
I'll tell you, I'm a psychiatrist, so even recently, one of my patients, a woman from Haiti who, told me the horrible situation that she just came from, and she's under TPS. I mean, she's telling me a story of, having been raped, her husband having been killed in front of her, the house being burnt down by these gangs. And so now she's facing the possibility of returning, and you being a mental health provider, I'm sure you can appreciate issues pertaining to post-traumatic stress, depression, and all of that. Now, when you think about what the president mentioned pertaining to South Afrikaners who, white South Afrikaners who subsequently rejected his offer and denied that they were being oppressed. Yes, they acknowledge that there were issues having to do with their land distribution, and they can handle that as a nation. They are, autonomous, and they can do that on their own. But when you contrast that with the treatment of Haitians, blacks, who have a true oppressive situation going on where it may mean death if they return to Haiti, that to me just kind of speaks to just blatant racism. Whatever issues having to do with, his feelings pertaining to Haiti. It wasn't, a couple of years ago when he expressed his thoughts pertaining to Haiti and other African countries. He described them as, shithole countries. And so that's no secret. In terms of the Ukrainians, well, we know he has issues with Zelensky. We know he has issues with Ukraine. That was evident a week ago. I would say most recently during that White House sit-down interview between Zelensky, Trump, and JD Vance, and the debacle that took place there. So we know how he feels having to do with that. But I think Haiti holds, a pretty special place in his heart in terms of, just getting the Haitians out. But it's not just the Haitians, it's others. So I think your question was, do I think that there's racism involved? Yeah, I actually, not that I think, but I know there is. Why would you make claims about a certain group eating people's cats and dogs when you know darn well it's not happening? And but you're attacking, you're playing on some, racist tropes uh that that people have been, at least some white folks in America have been played with since, I mean, from from the days of slavery uh to the present day, you know. So yeah, there's racism involved.
You're listening to the Kind Counseling Podcast. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Now back to the show.
Okay. All right. So, actually, I'm glad you mentioned the cats and dogs. Right.
No, I don't eat cats and dogs.
No, no, no. No, I was gonna ask you.
No.
No, I was gonna ask you. So, um, is this when this started? And in terms of, I think it was during the debate or even prior to that, there were
Yeah.
reports of like the whole eating the cats and dogs and all this other stuff, right? So, you feel like that was this is where this started for the president, or you felt like this was meaning for him personally? I'm saying, or did you feel like this was like like brewing for a long time?
Well, you're asking, I don't know the person individually. I've never interviewed the president, but I can only tell you what I think. And I think
Okay.
based on evidence, I think this was brewing for a long time, even during, I mean, that was the debate when that was clearly expressed, but
Right.
there were talks about that even prior to that.
Okay.
And then during his presidency, his first presidency, based on his statements having to do with Haiti and other African countries, it kind of expressed how he felt about us.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's actually I did I wasn't sure like what I mean, do you know anything about that Ohio situation? Like, you know anything about it? I was gonna.
Well, yeah, I know that these individuals were also brought in or came in based on the economic situation going on in Springfield. Oh, you're talking about Springfield, Illinois, or
Is it Illinois or Ohio? Which I
I
forgot
believe
which.
it's in Illinois.
Illinois. Okay, all right. Yes, yeah, that situation.
Yeah, I think they came in to fill. There was economic opportunities there. There were positions that and work that needed to be done. They came in and under TPS, and these folks were working fairly well. But my understanding is that it also caused a bit of a burden for the city itself pertaining to their resources because resources were limited, and the folks or the city politicians and those who were in charge were just kind of working with that and handling that, but then it just kind of blew out of proportion.
Okay.
Where you have some individuals who made some complaints, um, and then the issue came having to do with some woman whose dog or cat was missing, and she
Awesome. That's good.
made some allegation which she said she didn't mean to make, and then it just kind of got out of control.
Well, I guess I was more asking like, are these people? Did these people come in the recent wave of migrants, or were they like I'd say Haitians in different parts of the country that moved to Springfield?
That I don't know.
Oh,
I can tell you my impressions. I think they came in as a more recent wave of migrants to fulfill a specific um a specific employment opportunity over at in Springfield, Illinois. Um, yeah, that's my understanding of it.
okay.
Yeah, and now they are currently living in a in an atmosphere of terror, because now it seems that with this administration, you have groups of individuals who can now express their sense of their xenophobia or their racism and just come out and publicly um, demand for these individuals to leave their community, people who've been there for a while or people who've already, have employment. And it's not just happening there, but other places too.
Okay. All right. So now, obviously, Trump is doing these executive orders, right?
Yeah,
And this was established by Congress, if I remember correctly. This TPS.
yeah.
I think
So
it's actually a DOJ program.
DOJ, you said?
I believe that's what I read.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think it has to be by
No, it was
Department
created
of
by
Homeland.
Congress. It was
Yeah.
created by Congress in 1990. Sorry.
So right. So my question was, can 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 Trump just circumvent a law that Congress makes? Using executive orders.
Well,
No,
it's
I
only an 18-month thing though, Cammy. That's what I was referring to. Like, even though this was put in place, the stipulation on it is TPS is only supposed to be for 6, 12 to 18 months for a country that's going through conflict or natural
Right, but the conflict
disaster.
hasn't stopped, right? I mean, Haiti is still
Right.
in the middle.
So that's what I was saying. If this was in place since 2010,
Right.
we're at 2025. If we're complaining that it's about to end now in September versus August, well, according to the way it's written, I'm just reading how it's written. This was supposed to end in 2012.
All right.
So I guess that was just my biggest question was there something put in place as far as a long-term thing? Because it doesn't, I'm just saying this from what I'm reading. To me,
no, it's
the
okay.
way I'm reading it is saying that, this is for 6, 12, 18 months. Some other countries have had it stopped too. Rwanda had TPS put in place also at a certain time when they had their conflicts. And then it was stopped once everything kind of settled down. So I guess my question is, if there was anything within the Haitian community to try to circumvent this, to not have to rely on this program for 15 years. because that's what it seems to be. And now we're at the point where it's going to be stopped, unfortunately. But the way Congress has it written, it was supposed to stop in 2012. So I guess that's my question.
And I think it's an excellent question. It's a good question. I don't have an answer for you. My understanding is that people have renewed it based on the situation that's taking place in Haiti as far as its unfortunate non-progress. Things just kind of spiraled out of control, since the president was killed, was assassinated. So is there something else? Um, I do not know, except for the renewal of the status that individuals may have.
So it says
Well,
once it's in place that the individual that has qualified for TPS, they can do what it says is 60-day renewals. So I guess when they're stopping this in August, does that mean that they're stopping anyone from getting new access, or is this going to be revoking anyone that had prior access? Well, they're actually supposed to revoke after 18 months anyway, but is this going and stopping people from getting it renewed, or is it stopping people from getting new ones? I don't know.
I believe it's both.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's like ended,
right.
specifically for Haiti.
Well, I mean, I think that just from how I mean, like I said, I'm no expert either, but from how I understood how it was written, it was supposed to be, well, hopefully the country where you came from, that issue had died down or was resolved or something in order for you to go back. You just said you were in Haiti a year ago. Clearly, things haven't changed.
No, no, just a couple of months ago. I was there. I was in
Right,
Haiti in August.
right.
I believe it was August. And then I tried to return in November because I'm doing some work with the folks down there pertaining to their own psychological mindset. And I was on the second plane behind the Spirit airline, and the Spirit airline was shot at. And so we were about to land when the pilot mentioned that there was a situation going on at the
Mm.
Toussaint Louverture airport, and we could not land, and we returned back to Fort Lauderdale. And I came to find out that there was shooting taking place, and the first plane was shot at, and so we didn't want to take a chance. So at least the pilot did not want to take a chance of having our plane shot at. And then a
Mm.
few hours after that, the United States just kind of closed the gates and said, no planes were going to be going to Haiti, in X number of months.
So currently, no planes, no people aren't allowed to go to Haiti right now, like in terms of from America.
Well, right now, there's some people I know who are landing or who are going to Cap Haitien in the north, but not to the main airport, which is the Toussaint Louverture airport, which is in Port-au-Prince.
Okay. I did want to ask you, what do you think is a good compromise, right? Because me in this situation, like
What
because
I
obviously, meaning like some people argue that well, you can't just allow people to come into the country like with no filter, and but when they get here, they can't go back, but they shouldn't have been here in the first place. So then it's kind of like, what do you think is a good compromise?
I'm not a diplomat, and what I'm responding to is what I am seeing happening in my own community. As a mental health expert, I am seeing the how people are adapting to what I consider to be, you know, uh, a form of terrorism. I am seeing the triggering. I'm seeing the post-traumatic stress. I'm seeing the anxieties. I'm seeing the response to uncertainties. I would have to take your question and consider that we're all immigrants in a certain way. Yes, I believe there should be laws. Yes, there should be some kind of legal um, steps or legal access to a country that I do believe. But to take those who have been here under this TPS and just to say, from one day to the next, okay, that's it, regardless of what's going on. Um, in a couple of months, you're out of here, get your act together. When you when and then at the same time say to other groups, oh, you guys are under oppression, come right on in and you can have access to citizenship as quickly as possible.
Right.
I just, kind of look at the unfairness of it. What would be a compromise? Kami, I really don't know. There's so many things I can think of. None of them, I mean, every group will think that, no, that's not fair. No, that's not fair. But I have to advocate, for my own. I have to advocate for Haitians who have been under a lot of, have been facing a lot of difficult situations for a very, very, very long time. I do believe in legal avenues to gain citizenship. Um, I don't believe that people should come into the country and just, act out, do illegal things. But there are even people here in the United States who are acting out, who are citizens and who are going around, doing illegal things and, you know, acting in very, very illegal type of manners. And I know that there's a great majority of immigrants, not just from Haiti, but from other places,
Mhm.
come here and they're looking and they're holding down jobs, they're looking after their families, um, they're doing righteous things, and they just want to have that opportunity to, make a living and to do better for themselves and their family.
I think with this stipulation, though, with this program, and this is just, again, just from me reading through it, I think the program itself, the way it's written, and again, I just looked at it briefly, and it says in there that you actually don't qualify for any type of permanent residency. You have to go back to your country
Yeah,
and apply from there. That's what's written into the TPS program itself. So anyone, it says anyone from any country coming on the TPS, after a certain amount of time, they have to return and file for any type of residency from their country. Unfortunately, these are the stipulations that they put in place with a lot of these programs, and I don't think we as a people look into these programs as much as we should before jumping into them. But you're right, we are all immigrants, but we all know the law is also written with a lot of fine writing, and we have to be careful with what we're trying to, what
yeah.
programs we're getting into with the fine writing.
True, true. And I do feel that in certain places, when you have natural disasters, I mean, Haiti had that major earthquake back in 2010 that was, very catastrophic. Um, I think that people can be at a place of desperation
Right.
that once you have an opportunity to leave and to maybe do better for yourself and possibly consider bringing your family along later on, people will jump to it and maybe not read the fine prints. It's just a form of escape. And you know what? I'll figure it out later on. I'll see what I can do later on. But right now I just know that if I stay here, I may very well die. And my children will die. I mean, I can share with you when I was in Haiti and not a year ago, just a couple of months ago. Um, I met people who in Port-au-Prince, um, who their main concern with were their children growing up in an atmosphere where they can get killed or their child could get killed, where parents were talking about how they had to do things to distract their child from the horrible realities of the situation. For example, if they're walking down the street and there's a dead body, they have to find a way of distracting the kid to look elsewhere, um, where the schooling is interrupted because of shootings. You know, more times than none. More times than none, they cannot go to school because the teacher won't be there because the teacher's afraid of for their lives, and they can't allow their children to be there. Where parents go to work and they don't know if they're coming back, if they will come back home. We're talking about situations where, because of the gangs, families have to vacate their homes and move in with other family members elsewhere, which creates a whole different family dynamic. They're there, and it's unclear when they're going to leave, uh, if they have employment, how much food there is to share among those not only who were originally in the house, but then those who've just come into the house. So it's really incredibly disruptive all the violence taking place there. So to go back there, based on this time frame that is stipulated by law, it really is challenging, what they're going back to, and I think maybe that's what has had led to the renewal of the status of several individuals.
Yeah, this is I don't think this is an easy situation at all. I mean, and I think a lot of people are, and I can understand both sides of the argument, but I think a lot of people are distressed over how it's being done. You know what I mean? It seems almost just like a random, you know, grab everybody up, so to speak. Let's go, right? It's that's what it appears, right? I mean, I was speaking to someone yesterday, a client who was telling me about raids in Flatbush in Little Haiti, right? I mean, right there where my whole office used to be, right? So, and people are, living in fear of, should I go to work? Should I leave my house? So it's, like I said, I can see both sides, but I feel like it needs systematically, just needs to be done in a more empathetic way.
Yes, I would agree. It can be done in a more humane manner. It's like the PEPFAR situation or U.S. aid situation. I'm not saying that there has not been, waste, but it can be done in a humane manner where you don't freeze funds and cause individuals who have been receiving, let's say, antiretrovirals to control their HIV status, which is an illness that if you don't have your medication consistently, you can, have an increase in your HIV levels, and then you can go into AIDS, which is like, it's basically a death sentence. So what I'm saying is that it can be done in a more humane, more understanding, or more, I'm not looking for compassion from this administration, but at the very least, more thoughtful kind of way that, we're talking about human lives here, and we're not just talking about numbers. And, let's see what's going on. As a matter of fact, I think, I think with the Obama administration, they also reviewed immigration status, and also a lot of individuals were expelled from the country, a lot of immigrants
Right.
that, that took place during the Obama administration, but you didn't have all of this drama that is taking place. You didn't have people who were so concerned about, separating from their families, or even, mothers and fathers or family members being separated. And the only response you get back is, well, they should have never got here. So I think there's room for compassion, certainly. I mean, I'm coming to you on this program as a physician, as a I'm not an immigration expert, but I can see and appreciate the psychological and emotional consequences of what is going on. So I have to say something and advocate, and not just think, well, they should have never been here, or
Right.
they should have had plans. That's on them. I I
Right.
I can't do that. So I have to kind of raise the um, consciousness of people and let folks know, what, this is what's happening in the community. This is how my definition of terrorism. You can't go outside because you're afraid you're going to be
Right.
caught or never see your family again, or there's separation taking place. And again, not just limited to the Haitian community, but everyone who is impacted by this. Yeah.
Al, you got any other questions you have?
Yeah, I guess what I was just thinking is, in a perfect world, how would we even start to fix something like this? In a perfect world, if we could just,
Well,
three of us,
oh,
if the three of us standing right here could come up with something that we could do right now,
uh,
what do you
well,
think that could possibly be?
well, hold on a sec. Well, I mean, I'm not.
Just this situation, just
Yeah, I got you. But I don't want to get into the whole American Haitian history, obviously, right? But in a perfect world,
or French and Haitian history also.
right? Like Haiti
Right.
wouldn't be in the condition it's in because of certain interference. Okay.
Right. Well,
In a perfect,
I think we all know that.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Pierre,
Hence
if
the
you ask,
thriving Dominican Republic
right,
and the Haiti on the same parcel of land. But we already knew the things were put in place to stifle Haiti as a country. But I do think, I mean, out for 2010, I was actually out there helping with support for that. Well, my question on that was, we helped put together water and stuff, but my question on that also was there was a lot of mismanagement with even that situation. So I'm thinking when this TPS was put in place then, the assumption was with the aid and with the help that Haiti could have come out of that, possibly better than it was. But we've seen there's been millions and billions of dollars even from that effort that was mismanaged and waste, and who knows where it went. Um, so I was just saying, in a perfect world, how we think we could fix the current situation, if we could, I
right.
guess.
Well, Pierre, what are your thoughts on that?
I think in a perfect world, there wouldn't be a need to fix anything because it would be perfect. That's the
Right,
get-go.
true.
But I think my fight is to hopefully get people to realize that we're all human beings down inside and we all have needs. And, we're not perfect, mind you, but we are brothers and sisters on living on this planet. Um, Listen, it hurts me what was done to the Indians, in terms of, ethnic cleansing, in terms of this uh, trail of tears that was taking place. It hurts me to think about, how that was done with this concept of, manifest destiny. um what's going on in Gaza affects me. That's not part of the perfect world kind of scenario. But I think in a perfect world, we will have to, if people can understand that, these are human beings that we're talking about here. These are people with families. These are people with, these are fathers, mothers. These are people who, who are living a life. We all have a certain, I would say, spirit of God in us that merits a certain type of treatment. And we're not just numbers. And I think that if we can keep that in mind, it may impact how we treat people, even, in terms of the laws that we establish. But I know that's just fantasy. People are just not that way in terms of having compassion for others. Um, but in a perfect world, if that could be considered, I think that would be great. Um, yeah, I think that would be great. I mean, I've done medical missions like throughout the world, and I see how certain countries people are just stuck where they are at, and so lives may not be considered something precious as we may consider it here in this part of the world. But if we can, in a perfect will, consider that life is a precious thing and how can we help one another live to the best of who we may be, I think that would be helpful. Yeah, that would be helpful.
Uh, Peter, let me ask you. So, are you involved in some kind of, in the form of like official capacity, or are you aware of how people can get involved? Like, if they, they hear what you have to say and they say, you know what, I want to get involved, like in either this process or activism or anything like that. Can you?
Well, considering that I work for Housing Works and one of the pillars of Housing Works is advocacy. We
Okay,
do advocate and stand for the right of those who are being, marginalized. And so they have several activities. Um, for example, what you saw at the City Hall, at the steps of City Hall, was an invitation that was sent to us to have somebody who can speak on behalf of Haitians. It may or may not make a difference, but nonetheless, I spoke and just kind of spoke my heart out there. Couple of weeks ago, I was over at Washington, D.C., involved in a protest against the freeze pertaining to PEPFAR, um, having to do with the freezing of um, resources for those who have HIV, throughout the world. I mean, not just HIV, but that was my my focus pertaining to those individuals who would not have their antiretrovirals and what was, what was going to take place. So that was a civil disobedience act. And thankfully, we did not get arrested, but I believe this past Wednesday, um, there was a civil disobedience activity over on Staten Island. Um, Again, raising the issue of PEPFAR and the freezing of the funds for it. So, um, Housing Works, who I work for, has a lot of advocacy activities that will be taking place throughout the year. There'll be more, um, because we have a Housing Works in Haiti. We have a Housing Works in Haiti. We have a Housing Works in Puerto Rico, and so this impacts our constituency, the people who we work with, and so we have to advocate for them. Um, yeah, we have to advocate for them because it's a life and death situation.
Right.
So to get involved, I would say if people want to get involved, they can take a look at the Housing Works website and see what activities are taking place as far as advocacy. And I'm sure others will be, welcome. We've taken buses down to Albany to advocate for situations having to do with Medicaid, parity for pay for both medical primary care along with mental health care. Now another fight is going to be Medicaid. Is Medicaid going to be slashed? Most of our constituents, the people we treat, are Medicaid recipients. Uh, most of the grants that keep our FQHC, our federally qualified health um, agency center alive is through federal grants. So that's going to impact us, and that will be another fight. I mean, there's a lot of fights that's going to be taking place, a lot of advocacy that will be taking place this year, I'm sure.
I had no idea that Housing Works was so expensive. Like I didn't realize that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I work in Brooklyn, but my job is to supervise mental health care that we provide here at Housing Works, not just in Brooklyn, but also in Manhattan. We also contract with the city pertaining to hotels. We'll be probably losing one hotel for migrants, but we working with prisoners, people who've just been released from prison, who need mental health care, who need medical care. We do a lot of work, and it's not just medical and psychiatric care, but we also provide, well, at least we try to provide housing for those who have HIV. Of course, we work with substance use disorders. So we do a lot of work. Most people have just heard about our thrift stores, but we're more than that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, as long as I've known you, I didn't realize it was so, like I said, so expensive. Yeah, I mean, listen, Al, I don't know if you have another question or not, but Pierre, huh?
I have one more question.
Sure.
Okay.
You said that you worked before with the VA also?
That was part of my residency because at
Okay.
at SUNY Downstate, our residency program consists of providing services to 3 different institutions: the city with Kings County, the state with SUNY Downstate, and the government with at the Brooklyn VA, which is over here in Bay Ridge. So I worked there as a resident, taking care of people. Yeah, taking care of the veterans, who have psychiatric issues and medical. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that, sir. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Being a veteran myself, it stood out when you said it.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yes, my cousin is a veteran. He was in the Air Force. He was in the Air Force. My Air Force. My nephew now is in the U.S. Army. He's over in Germany. So yeah, I have a fondness for veterans and the work that is done. And it was my pleasure and honor to be able to have treated them, their medical illnesses along with their psychiatric illnesses. So
All right. Yeah,
I
listen,
think we could have a whole other conversation about that another time.
we-
I would
Yeah.
love to hear some of your experiences dealing with that. But yeah, that would be another hour. We'd be here having that discussion about the VA.
Yeah. Listen, throughout this time, again, I consider it an honor and a privilege to be here to speak with you all. I wish I had more expertise in that particular area. I know my area of expertise, but my participation has been to advocate for what is taking place in the community at this time. I wish I could just have the answers pertaining to legislatures that would have changed the situation, or to know, what has been happening. But I can say that the impact that I am experiencing is through my patients who come in and they're very anxious about what's going to take place in their lives. Um, they have difficulty with, from eating, sleeping, concerns about their family. They're having their anxieties, and I have to work with them to deal with that. Yeah, post-traumatic stress, like that woman. I wasn't ready for that conversation that I had with her. I didn't know she went through all this, and I
Right,
had to hear it.
right.
Yeah,
Well, Pierre, listen, man, we definitely thank you for giving us your time. I know you're a busy guy, right? You even
it's
had
okay.
clients tonight, so we thank you for just making us aware of what's happening, and for all the work that you're doing, the advocacy, and obviously the mental health work. We appreciate you, man, and always giving us time when whenever we call. And so thanks so much.
No, it's again, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to at least, share with the world what is taking place. I wish I could have given you better answers to a lot of the questions that were asked, but hey, this this is what I have, and
No, this
I'm
is
gonna
good.
make up anything.
This is
So
good.
Yeah, I mean, it was good. I was just asking the questions about, the program itself, saying what it says, and if there was some type of long term. I think
yeah,
sometimes we don't think about the long term as people of color, and I think we need to. We need to start looking at programs and seeing what's the actual long term effect of them.
yeah, no doubt. True. And I think that when people are in, again, when people are in places of
Right,
desperation,
right.
it's like, you're grabbing anything that'll
Exactly.
out,
Yep.
aside from, selling your soul. I mean, if you know the situations going on between Haiti and Dominican Republic, I mean, people have gone into
Yeah.
sex work to try to get out of their poverty. People have done a lot, and I think, if not impulsively, but at the very least to say, hey, I'll figure it out on the other end.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So and to be honest, even on our own, politicians have failed us. I mean, I can't even tell you about, the Haitian politicians,
Mhm.
who failed us, American politicians who just want to take advantage of the failure of the Haitian politicians and who
Right.
failed us. So it's just I don't even know what the answer is, but I do know that I'm on the ground just looking after folks.
Well, be careful if you're going to Haiti, man. He's talking about people shooting at planes, man. So,
Yeah.
so please be careful. We need you. We need you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm being as careful as I can. That was a bit of a frightening situation. But I've got people down there who are going through things, and interestingly, Kami, I'm treating them by way of televisits because,
Okay.
yeah, because televisits, and I'm providing supervision for at least
Wow.
8 therapists down there, and it's a bit of a challenge because I got to convert from Creole to English and then back, and I'm raised in Brooklyn, so it's just kind of hard. But I hope to return soon, hopefully in a safe manner, just to follow up on with some folks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, listen, man. You just became like my hero, man.
Keep up the fight.
Yeah, man. I'm serious. Like, I mean, listen, you're a psychiatrist, obviously, right? So most people, I mean, when they make it, they tend to, I shouldn't say most people, but they tend to forget people who are, like behind them, right? Or not behind them, but just, like in terms of poverty or in a rough situation, And I think it's really honorable that you give up your time and your energy and even risking your life, man. So, I appreciate you, man. All right. So I just want to say that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And as I said from when we started, I think a lot of it has to do with just the love I have for my mom, her memory. She's always had a love for Haiti, and so when I do these things, I do consider her, and I do them in her honor. You know, when I look at a Haitian woman down there, and I think, you know, it could have been my mom. So I do it in her honor, and that, you know, to me makes all the difference in the world. Um, she would have been proud. Yeah.
Good, man.
Yeah. Cool.
Good. All right, man. Before somebody start crying up in here.
Okay,
All
nah,
right.
no need for that. Yeah.
Yeah, shut down the podcast.
Yeah.
But listen, man, I just want to thank you again, and
Okay.
you
That was
know,
good.
you're always welcome here, man. If you need, you know, to talk about what's going on there, and we just want to thank you for your time, man, and all your efforts.
No problem. Next time, give me the questions ahead of time. I can do my own research.
I just put. All right, man.
I work from patient to patient.
No, man, this is perfect. This is perfect. Perfect.
Okay.
All right, man. You have a good evening, man.
All right. You have a good evening.
All right.
Alan, good to see you. All right. Take care,
See
guys.
you too, brother. Keep up the fight.
Will do.
Seriously, keep
Thanks.
it up, bro.
No other choice. Thanks. Take care.
We'll talk.
Bye-bye.
If I ever took a loss, I learned a lesson. I won't ever think I'm better than the next man. I've been down before to come up, I ain't stressing. Baby, I'm too busy counting.